Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be Harry Muppet. We are going to be casting a Masters League game here between our blue Protoss player, nexKnowMe, and down the bottom right hand side we do have a yellow Zerg player, Daloze. Now we have got a replay pack from our blue Protoss player nexKnowMe, and it's got quite a few replays in there. He's actually in Grandmasters League at the moment. This was back when Heart of the Swarm first came out. He was casting these games, and he was in Masters League back in there, but he's in Grandmasters League now, so we know we're going to see the very highest quality of these games, and we're also going to see the colour yellow, which you don't see very often. I can only guess this is a tournament game where they get to choose their own colours, but there we go, he's chosen yellow, so we'll see how that works for him. So not much going on in the first few minutes. Yeah, just gonna go on, gonna get our worker production going on, gonna get these players getting their worker production going on. Very interesting to see what the Zerg player builds first, hatchery or spawning pool. The vast majority of Zerg players will build a hatchery first these days. Spawning pool first means they're either a bit scared of the other player going fast in, or basically they just want to get some lings out a little bit faster and actually go for some offense early on. Or so he's either playing it safe or he's being really aggressive, but we'll see exactly which one it is. I also have noticed, I'm not 100% sure if this is the case, but I think a lot of Zerg players may be going for the pool first just because it lets them get the queens up that much faster. So they get the lava production up that much faster because they're using spawn lava from the queens that much faster. And it really does actually help the amount of drones that they can get out, because even when you go pool first and then hatchery, you're not going to max out on drones on your primary base before you've actually got the spawning pool up, before you've got the queen up. So it's not really a massive problem to have too much drone production early in the game. In fact, it's definitely a good thing. And here we go, Prover's coming in. Prover's going to do a bit of a scout and not see anything terribly unusual. He's got a couple of lings coming out just to chase away that probe. Hatchery is nearly done. We've got a cybernetics core coming out, so everything is looking very standard at this point. The Protoss player also going for his fairly early expansion. I keep saying early expansion because I'm used to Wings of Liberty playstyle, but it seems in Heart of the Swarm that the 4-minute expansion of a Protoss player isn't really early at all anymore. It seems to be getting a bit more standard, and I think that's a lot to do with the fact that aggressive pushes with a large amount of lings, like 6 pull and all that sort of stuff, maybe a 10 pull or something like that, push with lings and speed, 5-minute roach rushes, that you don't really see them that much anymore. People are going for a lot heavier macro at the start of the game, and yeah, you don't really see massive pushes in at the start from Zerg players, so it's a bit safer to go for this early Nexus. Now when it gets up to about the 7-8 minute mark, that's when it starts to get dangerous again, because the Zerg player, he's got a fair amount of economy up at that moment, and then he starts to push really hard. You see a lot of Zerg players, they either get a bit of roaches out, like 6 to 8 roaches or something like that, or they just go for mass lings. You can get 20 to 30 lings out by about the 8-minute mark, I think, with speed at that point, and that is very scary. But you can see this gate here, and you can see this gate here, and they are forming a gate, so that is the Protoss counter to that sort of 8-minute play. But if he goes for roaches, this gate isn't really going to help him too much, so it's up to the Protoss player to make sure that he knows if the Zerg player is going for roaches. It doesn't look like he is yet. He's still on the income train. He's pulling ahead, which is to be expected at this point, but the Protoss player is continuing to produce probes out of both nexi, and he's continuing to chrono them out, so that's all he can do, and I don't think he's going to be far behind in the worker count at all. Here he goes, another scouting ling coming in. He's not going to see a whole lot. He's just going to see the gate, and then he's just going to get out of there. So you can see a fairly nice design sort of here. If this zealot gets laid down, if this starts setting in banelings, he could build another building here, could put a pylon up there, and even with banelings, the Zerg player would find it very hard to bust through this wall. So I don't expect the Zerg player to really try and do that quite yet. He's just going absolutely nuts on the work account, and meanwhile he is teching up to roaches, he's getting the lair tech, so he's switching into the mid game very nicely. And the Protoss player looks like he's getting into ground tech, I suppose. He's going to get a fairly large ground army for this battle. Not really doing much mid-tech though. We don't have a robo facility yet, we don't have a Twilight Council yet, and we definitely don't have a Stargate yet, so he's just going to continue. Actually, he's going to try and do a bit of a push there and see how it goes. And this it's not right timing, but the roaches are going to be coming out now, so I don't think this Protoss push is going to be able to do all that much. They're going to wipe out the Lings without too many problems, but the roaches are going to make it very hard for this force, especially since he's got 4 out and he's building 6 more, so the Protoss player will have to rethink. But I gotta say, if his only objective was forcing a cancel on the 3rd base, then his timing was absolutely immaculate. He may have known exactly when that base was coming down, and he did a great job at forcing the cancel. But here we go, the Zerg player already getting a hatchery over here, so good on him for staying in the game. And robo facility coming out, so we may be looking at Colossus tech somewhere down the path. In fact, I'd say that's probably what we are going to be looking at. Protoss player with some reinforcements here. He's going to try and have a go at these roaches, sort of forming them into a bottleneck, but I'm not sure. There's a lot of roaches, and once they clean up these zealots, the rest of these forces are not going to do all that well. He's actually running past the zealots, trying attacking the sentries. I think he got a couple of them, but continuing reinforcements in here from the Protoss player, and the Zerg player is right up against the wall. He's building 12 roaches though, but I still think he's going to be in a bit of trouble here. There we go, there's the proxy pylon, and 7 warp gates are going to be very, very useful for this push. So it's kind of like a 4 gate, except pushed back a few minutes, and with 7 gates instead of 4, so very, very, very effective at this point. However, this stream of roaches coming in, if the Protoss can hold out for a little while longer, but it looks like he is going to get pushed back, just these roaches coming out constantly, and the fact that the roaches have 1/1 upgrades. Really, really nice from the Zerg player. They're getting that large amount of upgrades very early in the game. I'm actually not sure how he managed that. That is just really impressive. He must have, yeah, 2 Evo chambers here, so that's pretty cool. So he's going to push in there. He's going to push the Protoss force back. However, the Protoss is building Immortals now, so this Roach force is only going to be as good up to the point where they start facing the Immortals, and then the Roaches are just going to get blown apart pretty much. Even one Immortal can really, really repel this many Roaches quite satisfactorily. Of course, its range is 6, and these Roaches only have a range of 4. So half of the pain for the Roaches is actually just pushing in to get in range of the Immortal, and of course pushing in with this many Zealots on the ground to snipe the Immortal is going to be painful no matter how you look at it. So he probably saw the Immortal, he's probably just going to get out of there. You can see Roach speed is actually finished, because these guys are just blitzing along now. They're going like there's no tomorrow. And here we go. Protoss army, they're pretty good. They're feeling pretty confident now they've got the Immortal out. He's got another Immortal on the way, and he's got to start pushing out. Maybe move into a 3rd base while he's doing this. I'm not sure if it's that time yet, but I would not be surprised if the Protoss player decided to do that. Meanwhile, he's finally going to take this pylon out. He's got another one coming up in the middle of this expansion, so that's just going to be annoying the Zerg player a little bit. I think he was expecting the Zerg player to really, really want to take this expansion fast. Maybe he doesn't know about this one yet. He does know about that one, so maybe he was just expecting the Zerg to go for a 4th fairly soon. But here we go, the Zerg has supplemented his army with Hydralisks, and he is going to be very dangerous versus this Protoss force now, because Hydras are not scared by Immortals, and they do very well against Stalkers and Zealots. So, Protoss player, of course the counter for Hydralisk is Colossus, so I would not be surprised to see him going for that very, very soon. But yeah, there we go. There's the Robo Bay coming straight down, so Colossus Tech on the way. Meanwhile, he's building up a few more Immortals to deal with this fairly large amount of Roaches, and I do like this decision, because there are a lot of Roaches and he really needs to whittle down their numbers. So the Immortals, definitely going to be useful, and since he can't build Colossus yet, because he doesn't have the Robo Bay, might as well build Immortals. He's got 2 bases fully up in mining, so he's got the minerals to do it. And if we have a look here, the Zerg player, he hasn't really lost that many workers. He's just been using it to build stuff, and he hasn't been building any more workers. There we go, there's about 10 coming out, so he's starting to get back in the lead. But you can see the Protoss player has a very nice economy, the Zerg player has a very nice economy. He's slightly ahead, and he's pulling a bit more ahead as he goes, but he's not stupidly far in the lead. I mean, 50 workers for a Protoss player, it's not bad at all. He's going to have a bit of watchtower fun over there. The Protoss player pushing out for this one as well. And they're just sort of feeling each other out at the moment, I guess. Just, there we go, finally getting that 3rd Nexus down. He really does need this 3rd expansion at the moment, and the Zerg player's got to be thinking about a 4th one, because he's got to be running out of minerals here fairly soon, the next few minutes I guess, so he's got to have a 4th ready for that. You do not want to be mining off just 2 bases at once. He definitely wants to have a 4th one ready to go by the time this one runs out of minerals. And I would not be surprised to see one come up here any minute now. Here we go, there is the Swarm Host coming out. Swarm Host, we've seen a lot of good use of Swarm Host recently, and they're very, very, very hard for Protoss players to deal with. The Protoss players usually have a lot of trouble dealing with Swarm Hosts, especially when they get up to a fairly significant number. I've never actually seen what this upgrade is. Increases the lifetime locust by 10 seconds. So yeah, that's almost like the Colossus range. I mean, you just need it. You absolutely need it, and it makes the Swarm Host so much more effective. But there we go. First Colossus out on the board, out on the field. Is he getting? He's got his Templar archives out, so that might be High Templar. Maybe he's scouted the Swarm Hosts and he's decided on High Templar as a good counter. Maybe he just wants Archons. I can't really be sure, but I'm actually surprised that he only has 1 Robo Bay at the moment. Where is he? Yeah, if it was me playing this, then I'd probably have 2 Robo Bays for producing Colossus, but he actually doesn't need them because he's got hallucinations, so he can scare the wits out of the Zerg player. The Zerg player just waiting for him to get in range of their Swarm Host. When the Locusts come out to attack, that's when this Zerg army will move in with the Locusts as cover, and he should be able to do quite a bit of damage. There we go, there's the Psystorm, there's the High Templar, so he's definitely got his counter for the Swarm Host. And we'll see how well it is. Little hit squad of Roaches coming over here, but this force just newly warped in. I think it might be enough to take these guys off. Of course the Zealots will have to start attacking the Roaches at some point. No, a little bit of slackness there on the part of those defending forces, and yeah, the Protoss army here starting to feel the sting of the Locusts coming over. So this is going to be the start of a very hard push in here. How many Swarm Hosts does the Zerg player have? He's got 6 at the moment, so that's not an unmanageable force. I think he should still be able to push in here. He's going to do a lot of damage to these Roaches. He's going to wipe them out. The Colossus is doing fantastic work. And once he takes out these Swarm Hosts, I think he should be right. Yeah, 3 actual Colossus with all these ground forces in the front. You can see though that all the Zealots are dead, and I would not be much mistaken if half of those Zealots were taken out by bloody Locusts, because those Locusts are just nuts. The Vipers around here, they do a bit of damage to the Colossus. They love to yank them in, but there's no army left to yank them into, so basically right now they are pretty much useless, and in fact I think they're almost dead, pretty much dead. the Protoss, really good at getting this pylon down while his army was moving in. So he's going to have replacements all over the place. Coming in there, he's just wiping out workers at this point, and I believe this game is pretty much over at this stage. I mean, 3 Colossus, there's not that many units you can build that can really counter this force at the moment. So he's pretty much done at this point, and we're just waiting for the GG to see what happens. What it is just a whole bunch of overlords. He may be trying to fake an overlord drop or something like that, but I don't think it's going to work. The Protoss player has got to have a pretty good idea of how many units he's wiped out. He must know that the Zerg player really doesn't have anything left. So he's just going to go in, he's going to keep wiping out buildings. This hit squad of roaches just keeping on, but they're not going to get past this gate. I'm pretty sure they're not anyway. If he wipes in some forces here, they've got no chance. But here we go, continuing to move on. Zerg player badly trying to get up some defenses here. Just a whole lot of spine crawlers and stuff like that. And he's got to put some swarm hosts behind the spine crawlers. However, with Colossus, I mean, I'm really not sure that these guys are going to do anything. You see the roaches pushed off there, being chased away by a Colossus and a couple of stalkers. Here we go, these guys dealing with the lurkers. The locusts, sorry, not the lurkers. And they're going to get the tower, they're going to put a Colossus up here. And that is just going to be game over. You can pretty much take out all these spine crawlers from the high ground here with these Colossus. And yeah, this has got to be over very soon. I'm not sure why the Zerg player is staying in the game, but I really don't think he has much of a chance anymore. And we will be saying goodbye to him very soon. There we go, the army is swarming down. Wipe out all of these spine crawlers. Immortals, of course, just demolish spine crawlers like there's no tomorrow. And they probably demolish the swarm hosts as well, because I'm guessing these guys are armoured. So there we go. There is the final GG. Our blue Protoss player, nexKnowMe, has wiped out our yellow Zerg player, Daloze. And it was a epic battle. And really, these Colossus just... I like the mix in with the Immortals as well. You don't see that too often, a whole bunch of Immortals with the Colossus, but it was a good choice. Immortals, of course, are the ultimate counter versus roaches, and a lot of people, they just go Colossus with Zealot legs and Stalkers in the middle and just sort of run with that, and it usually does a pretty good job against roaches. I mean, Zealots with legs, they get in nice and quick and they do lots of damage to the roaches, and Immortals are a bit unwieldy, I guess, because they've got the same range as Stalkers. Stalkers have a range of 6, I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah, and Immortals have a range of 6 as well, so they usually get stuck behind the massive amount of Stalkers, and it doesn't do all that well. And of course Stalkers can attack air, and Immortals can't, but here, when you know it's just straight up Roach Hydra, then Immortals are a very good choice for the Protoss army. Immortals and Colossus do all the damage, and he got some Archons in as well. Archon's very gas heavy, but if you've got the resources, then why not? So he went in there and he did the job he needed to do. The swarm hosts got out there, but the swarm hosts were not at a critical number by any stage of the imagination. Critical number basically means that you can't wipe out all the locusts by the time they get out and actually start hitting your army. It means the number of Colossus, Stalkers, and Immortals cannot destroy the locusts by the time they get close to your army, and at that point the locusts just keep coming. They wipe out one Zealot, one wave, the next wave maybe they wipe out a couple of Stalkers, and at that point you just got to get out of there, because there's nothing you can really do anymore, because trying to move in and attack the swarm hosts is just going to mean you get countered by the opposing army and all your forces just get wiped out. But the Zerg never got to that critical number of swarm hosts. He had about 6 at one stage, but the Protoss player just went in there, went in hard with his Colossus, and he just wiped them all out. And so good job by our Protoss player. I hope you enjoyed this game. This has been xhairymuppet, and thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.